join our hands to build a nation of our dreams. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Your problem is my problem and my joy is your joy. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hands to build a nation of our dreams. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Yeah. Your problem is my problem and my joy is your joy. Citizen FM, Citizen FM.
Hi, good evening. This is Aderemi Apatira, and you're welcome to Energy Roundup. We are back, and we've been talking about some serious issues in the energy sector, especially in Nigeria and globally. My guest this evening is set, and we are here to talk about something that we started some few weeks ago, and this is the third edition of the Elephant in the Room series. The Elephant in the Room series has been addressing the call by Labour during the International Labour Day in May for the reversal or total cancellation of the entire privatization process that was done in the power sector. That has been going on, and with the new issues that have been coming forth in the sector, there is really a very valid reason to address this issue once again. Like I said, I have my guest in the house. I would introduce him to you shortly. But before we do that, I need to quickly go over what the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Ayuba Waba, said on the 1st of May. Now, he said particularly the challenges in our subsector, in our electricity subsector, persist despite the acclaimed goodness that the power sector privatization program promised. In spite of the humongous bailout support funds fleeced from public coffers to the so-called private sector investors who bought our electricity asset very cheap, our power generation and distribution blues keep getting worse. The truth is, we have been badly scammed. In fact, that was a very heavy statement that went kind of viral, that we have been heavily scammed. I have in the studio this evening Mr. Owei Lamkefa to talk about some issues that came forth from that statement. Please join me as we talk about this persistent issue in the power sector, as well as other energy sector issues that have been coming forth from the global politics in energy. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
My listeners are here, they are waiting, they want to hear from you. Kindly just introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the fray of the discussion.
My name is Owei Lamkefa. I am a trade unionist, a journalist, and a human rights activist.
Wow, super. And of course, we're talking about a statement by Labour. So, as a trade unionist, you should be able to tell us what informed that particular statement. So, I'll just go right in. You heard the statement made by the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress on the 1st of May. I just read a small excerpt of that just some few minutes ago. Sir, my question is, privatization in the power sector, there has to be something we're coming from. Can you just give us a bit about the background, the implication, and to answer the question, is it working?
Well, privatization was imposed on Nigeria by international financial institutions who said they want market forces to run the economies of underdeveloped countries. And so the whole idea of privatization is sell the public assets to private investors. But actually, it's like the public assets, was distributed amongst, private people in power. And so you had the privatization of an hotel like Transcorp, which was quite profitable. It was given out. You had the privatization of Nitel, Nitel was competing with MTN and another of those stations. It used to be called, I can't remember the name that they called the other station now. I mean the other provider now, but it was competing favorably, and then it was killed. Nitel was sold for nothing. It was given to people who sold his assets, so it was about asset sharing. I mean stripping. And so when it came to the question of PHCN, you imagine a situation where PHCN had one management and a few directors, and it was decided that it should be divided into 18. And so you have 11 discos, 6 gencos, that generating companies, and the TCN. So you have 18 managements instead of one, and you have various directors. And so all these managements and MDs, were earning humongous salaries. And who paid for it? Or who pays for it? It's the consumer. What does the consumer pay for? The consumer pays essentially for darkness, because the entire amount being distributed across the country is less than 3,000 megawatts. So you have a way, a situation where we are shortchanged, things are stolen from us, and then the new owners are running the place. And they are running the place not very well. They are, for example, the gencos, I don't know what amount of megawatts they have introduced to the country. I don't think there's any in the last from 2013 when they took over. And then you have the discos who in main distribute darkness. You find that even first they refuse to give meters to people despite all the promises by the government. And then even when you have meters, they will sometimes tell you they cannot read the meters because they are asked to go out and source for funds. So they are not even interested in your meter. So you have a situation where the Nigerian populace is abandoned by the government, abandoned by the Consumer Protection Agency, and exploited by discos and gencos. That's the situation that you have. And a lot of people raised issues when when there was privatization of PHCN back in the 2013, that the companies that were even being brought were not tested companies. And so they came, and then they cannot make a difference. And so what you find is that the country continues to spend a lot of money, on the discos and the gencos. Over 1.5 trillion naira has been given out to them. Under the Jonathan administration, the central bank gave them loans which up to now have not been paid. And so it's not surprising that that sector has failed, and there are some of them who are undergoing receivership.
Wow. Obviously, it's not working. But what would be your take? A review or a reversal, or both?
Look, when there was the privatization, there was a performance index that was supposed to be used as criteria, and the review or reversal in 5 years, which should have been in 2018. But then the new owners claimed that they needed 1 year because they did not know, they didn't know how bad the situation was. So they needed 1 year to have a baseline. So it was approved for them. And so the whole thing should have been, reviewed by 2019. And this is 2022. When President Buhari came in, he said that, the whole thing about privatization was a failure. The Senate also reached that conclusion. The ministers reached that conclusion. But they said, look, we cannot do anything about it until after 5 years, which is a grace period. Now 5 years, like I said, was supposed to have expired by 2018. Or if you give them the 1 year they were supposed to use for baseline studies, 2019. So what has happened? Nothing. So it can be revised, it can be taken back. And this will not be new, because in various countries where where there has been a misadvice that the power sector should be privatized, they have been reversed out. For example, California, which is supposed to be the biggest economy in the world, have to take back its power sector from the private sector. So it can be done. And it should be done.
Wow. Wow. So that's your take. It should be done. It can be done despite the fact that the window has already been exceeded. It has closed kind of, but we can have it reversed. Yeah. But on the back of that, there is something that has been a kind of glitch. Now, one of the parts of the privatized, so-called privatization, is the TCN, which is the Transmission Company of Nigeria. And the Transmission Company of Nigeria is in charge of the national grid and its systems. Yet we keep having, if I recall that we have had about 23 breakdown of the national grid this year only. Wouldn't that count for something too? Well, is held by government, 100%.
Yeah, but that is not the primary issue. The primary issue was that there was a problem in the public sector. And so then you then decide to prioritize it, that it will improve. Rather, it became worse. So we pay for, inefficiency. That is the problem that we have. And the TCN is like, it's very much like we run the refineries. We give them money and they don't perform and nothing is done. And people are kept in office. So people are kept in power, in office, doing nothing or destroying the economy because, like you said, we have about 3-4 breakdowns every month, or we've had it this year,
yes,
of the grid. And so nothing is done about that. And it just continues to run. Look, let me tell you something about TCM. The TCM, which is the only one that is owned 100%, there's a scam about it. They claimed when it was when they were privatizing companies, they claimed that they brought Manitoba from Canada to run the TCN, and it turned out to be a scam. It was run down, and up to now, it's being run down. So why can we not do anything about it? And we can. It just depends on the government. So, but the TCN just run like the Nigerian states. In Nigerian states, that pays for refinery, and nothing is refined, that imports fuel and is incapable of distributing the fuel. And I don't think there is a worst level of incompetence. You have oil, you cannot refine it. So you import the oil, the fuel products like PMS, and you cannot distribute. And then people start saying we can sell at any price because as far as they are concerned, there's no government. I mean, the government says sell at 165, and the distributors say no, we are selling at 181. That means there is anarchism in the country.
Well, I wouldn't blame them anyway. They have to count all the things that goes into getting it to the station. Like they keep saying that beyond the cost of importation, beyond whatever is being given to augment that, they also have to pay for logistics of running their system. You know what we are talking about. That's a topic for another day. But right about now, we'll be going into some things that are in the energy in the news. Energy in the news is the next part of this program, and I'll just push one or two issues that has been thrown up in the news in the last few days, particularly in the last 48 hours regarding the sector. Now, there was an announcement on Tuesday night precisely, by the federal government to restructure 5 of the electricity companies: Port Harcourt, Kano, Kaduna, Ibadan, and Benin. And that is coming at the heels of the receivership threats by Fidelity Bank and Afrexim for 3 of them, and then the other 2 need some change of guard, some restructuring. So what's your take on all this?
Well, since we know the whole thing has been a scam, it's coming out to light. If you have 11 discos and you are restructuring 5, that is 40-45% of the discos in the country. So why not just take over the whole thing? Now let me tell you something. There's nothing new about the private sector running the electricity system. There's nothing new about it. In Jos, we had NASCO that had run the electricity company for close to a century, for like something years, before the federal government decided that company has to be brought down in order to allow for privatization. But it was a private company. And so there's nothing new about it. So we're in trouble. We're in trouble because we are giving out the electricity companies to people who obviously are not competent to run it. Before now, Yola had been down. In fact, the people in Yola, the solution company had actually abandoned the place. They had fled. And that company was then bought by Ibadan, which is now under receivership also. So you are talking about, since the privatization in 2013, at least 6 of them have been in trouble out of 11, leaving 5. And that, by any standard, is a failure.
It's a failure. It's over 50%.
Yes.
That's really huge. But on the heels of that, federal government constituted the governing board for the NELMCO. That's the Nigeria Electricity Liability Management Company, which is to manage the post-privatization liabilities of the power sector that has been transferred to them. Prior to now, there was no board named. So with these issues, I don't know. I don't understand the correlation between naming the board now while they are talking about the restructuring and the so-called receivership and all of that.
Well, NEMCO is supposed to have been on ground from beginning when they did the privatization. So I am not too sure what the government is trying to achieve now. But the fact is that the energy sector needs a total restructuring. We need to go back to the drawing board. That's the truth. Because power is not being supplied in the country. If you have a country of about 200 million people, or over 200 million people, and you are distributing 3,000 megawatts,
it's
that's not even enough for Lagos. As far as I know.
Yeah.
And though you distribute it all over the place, it's a joke.
Well, somebody tried to provide a solution yesterday, I think. The Director of Governance and Sustainability of Sahara Group, Ejiro Gray, was talking about the need to have that the solution for the power sector lies in mini grids. And I was like, this same Sahara is the owner of Ikeja, and Ikeja too has not really been. So who are they to give us solution? Well, what do you think about mini grids in the country?
You see, the government, rather than face the issue of refining, I continue to go back to it, of petroleum products. When they had failed and couldn't run a single refinery, they talked about mini refineries. And they have promised that for about 4 or 5 years now, and none is running. And so when you come to all this issue about mini grids and all those things, there is some joke about it. You need a comprehensive program. For instance, there are alternative, methods. There are alternatives to, to the whole thing about generating power and the grid. For instance, when let me tell you a story, and you'll be surprised. In 2015, I went on a visit to Kigali with some people from the power sector, and they showed us their power system. Now Kigali, which is the headquarters, you get it.
Yes.
It had a power source, and we're taking there, and it was solar that was supplying a large part of the city. I know who built that solar for them and was running it. Somebody from Kano in Nigeria. And so the issue is that why are we not even using the opportunities that we have? Why are we not looking at alternative sources of energy? Why are we just sitting down and just lamenting when we can use we can try other sources like the solar I talked about? And the person who did that is a Nigerian.
It becomes like the Yoruba saying that the son of the butcher is eating bones that don't even have anything inside. It's devastating. But really, I get it. What we need to do is go back and really have a comprehensive program to work the solution of the sector, or else we are heading nowhere. And I believe those who are supposed to this are hearing this, there is need to really have a plan, a comprehensive plan that is honestly addressing the issues, the faces that we have identified in the power sector, away from the local energy power sector. I just wanted to just talk a bit into the global energy politics in conflict, because that's what we are having. Now, Russia invaded Ukraine a few months ago, and this has roiled the markets and geopolitics of energy, driving oil and gas prices to their highest levels in nearly a decade, and forcing many countries, including Nigeria, to reconsider their energy supplies, where we are supposed to be suppliers, but we needed to reconsider because we are doing what we call export-importing. And so, what is the implication, and what is your advice for Nigeria?
Nigeria is supposed to be a player in the oil industry, but it's actually a spectator. And so when the prices of oil goes up, we do not benefit. When the prices dip, we suffer. Look, you talked about the war in Ukraine. Now, Russia is making more money from oil now and gas than it was before the invasion. Then you, who is in one corner of the world, who is not at war, you are making all the noise. It just shows, in my view, if you permit me to say so, gross incompetence. Gross incompetence. Because Russia is making more money now.
Yes.
The currency that has experienced the highest valuation, the dollar this year, since the war, is Russia. The Russian currency has risen 25% higher, than the value of the dollar. And so Russia is at war. You get it? They are making more money from oil. Then you are not at war. You get it? You are supposed to be at peace, and you're in tatters.
Are you sure Nigeria is not at war? You don't want to go there.
No, because so that's part of the problem that we face in Nigeria. We cannot even meet our quota system from OPEC. We cannot. The whole thing is just down. Wow. We do not even know how much oil we produce a day. We do not know how much oil is stolen. We do not know. So we are just adrift. And so when they talk about oil producing countries, we carry our Babariga, and Bada will go and appear there at OPEC.
Wow.
Why we are doing nothing? We don't even run basic production. Wow.
That reminds me, the Secretary General of OPEC, that's Nigeria's representative, passed on 2 days ago. Yeah. My sincere condolences to the family. And it's really unexpected. I just may God grant his soul rest. Now, wow, this is a discussion that won't end, really. We keep talking about it. We keep trying to prompt policy in the direction of doing the right thing. If we are doing restructuring, let's do it honestly. If we are going to do anything, we should have a comprehensive plan. We should have a comprehensive direction, and it should take care of all the sources and all the forms of energy. We should look. There's nothing wrong with looking at how some people are doing it and getting it right and copying them. And we find people providing solution in other countries who are Nigerians. And that goes to tell us that we are not really putting our best foot forward as a nation. I'll leave you with this fun fact as I round up for today, that food is a form of chemical energy. And while energy facts are typically associated with electricity and power, food is also a of chemical energy that it keeps living organisms with the sustenance to grow, to repair, and to reproduce. This chemical energy is generally measured in calories or joules. Energy is released into the body during digestion and converted into mechanical energy or heat. So Nigerians, we actually think more of our chemical energy, and that is where that issue of stomach infrastructure comes from. My name is Aderemi Apatira. I am your host, and I'm just signing off. See you next week.
Nation of our dream. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Your problem is my problem and my joy is your joy. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hearts to build a nation of our dream. Citizen FM.